Welcome back to War Hero to Superhero, helping military, veterans, and first responders transform their lives from the bedroom to the boardroom. We are jumping in the first week of July. Man, it was a long 2020 and it's a short 2020. 4th of July is coming soon, and we're talking about freedom this month. Now, we didn't plan it that way and think of July and freedom, but the theme fits perfectly. So, this month we're going to be visiting freedom in the bedroom, freedom in the living room, and freedom in the boardroom. And always on our 4th week, we interview our war hero to superhero. So if you're a military veteran or first responder, or you're one of our honorary war hero to superheroes that transform lives for military veterans and first responders, we would love to have you on a guest on our Facebook Live in the 4th week. Now let's jump in because we're in the bedroom. So 1 out of 3 people sleep well. That means 2 out of 3 of us are not sleeping well. Couples have sex 1, maybe twice a week on average. We're not talking about people that just got together and started shacking up. This is married couples. And a couple that has been married for more than maybe 6 to 24 months, because that's the honeymoon phase, talks between 3 to 21 minutes an hour when in presence. But we spend 5 hours a day plus, so do I, on the flippin' phone. I know my phone says it averages, I average 8 to 9 hours because I'm doing social media, right? But here's the question I'm asking myself and asking you guys at the same time, listening through either through our live or our podcast on Pedopolo. Why do we spend so little time sleeping? Sexting, like having sex with our spouse, and also chatting. So tonight we're going to go dive into that topic just a little bit. So the first thing that we have to admit is we are sleeping with our phones. Surveys across the internet, and I think it was Ashurion that did a survey that basically 10% of us are going over and putting this bad boy under our pillow. And about 70 to 90% are going over and actually have it at arm's length. I'm guilty. Not under the pillow, but I'm guilty with the arm's length. So what does the phone give us that our intimate partner doesn't give us? Or maybe it's something that we're lacking. So let's go challenge that for a little bit. Let's see. And this is always a dialogue. So go and add the comments in the feed. Once I get through my list, I'll check out the comments. So let's first talk about the phone gives us stimulus. It gives us visual stimulus. It gives us the dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and epinephrine shots that we're needing on a regular basis. You go over and you stream through social media, or you watch a video, or you hear a bing, dopamine, boop, it gives that shot, doesn't it? It also gives us a diversion. If we're not comfortable with our spouse, we're having difficulty with that spouse, and we can't go over and communicate, or sex is not frequently where we're looking for it, or we're not sleeping well, it's a great diversion. It goes over and gets our mind off not sleeping, gets our mind off not having sex, gets our mind off not talking. It also goes over and has a connection point. When we hear that bing for a text, 98% of Americans answer it in 2 minutes or less. That's why marketing is going more towards that. But at the same time, it gives a little connection piece. You're connecting with somebody new. It's something fresh. Maybe your marriage is not fresh, and maybe it's giving that connection of freshness. Maybe some groups or some people or whatever it is. Sometimes it can be safety. Maybe your spouse is deployed and you're all alone, and it's good to have the phone because at least you have people to go over and connect to. Call 911, those types of things. You feel safe in that regard. And maybe, depending on what device that you have and what applications that you have, and is security. We put almost everything on this flipping phone. If I look at mine right now, I have my Facebook, which is my social. I have my PayPal, which is my financial security by building my business. I go over and have our daily bread. So I have my emotional, dopamine shot. I have games of Sim City. I have my books. What do you have on your phone that goes over and keeps you connected? Because what happens is, what is it for you? Is it security? Is it connection? Is it safety? Is it something else totally different? Is it more than one of these things or something different? We're going to go check the comments to go see what you guys think. So Wesley Weaver goes over and says, hell no, this is why so many people have sleep issues and sex issues. By the phone. That's what it sounds like. So going from there, we know, and we know I'll say this. I know I have a phone problem. I know I can go resort to the phone instead of sleeping. Depending on the night when, wife goes to sleep or we're quote unquote both not in the mood or anything else or conflict or whatever, I can resort to the phone for sexual diversion in the sense of not porn, but in the sense of just getting your mind off and trying to find something else. And I'm guilty of going over and not talking all the time, even though I talk like crazy, sometimes. So we want to give you some tips, things that I went over and saw in myself and deliver it to you, tips to increase time together and getting some under the sheets time, which is one of our chapters in our book, Leave No Marriage Behind. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, go check it out. The first thing to go over and to do is acknowledge it. Especially if you have an iPhone, it has that app that goes over and registers like your screen time. It tells me every week anyway. So I need to, and if you struggle with this, you need to go over and acknowledge that our phone is replacing our sleep, is replacing our sex, and is replacing our speech and who we're connecting to. Additionally, we have to then choose to become self-aware of it. When am I going over and replacing my phone for sleep? When am I replacing my phone for sex? When am I replacing my phone for speech and connecting and doing that pillow talk? Because if we don't go over and become self-aware, you can acknowledge it all day, or your phone goes over and acknowledges that you've had an average 9 hours and 15 minutes on your phone each day. I'm like, damn. I'm like, but I only slept 6. I only had sex once, maybe. And then go over and I maybe talk to my wife 15 minutes throughout the entire day because my day was broken up all throughout the day. Another tip is to go over and set yourself some mental boundaries. These are the hardest ones to go over and do. So we recommend you, if you're going to do these ones, you have to have a strong willpower. But mental boundaries is saying when you're going to go cut off the phone from sleep. Saying to yourself, at 10 o'clock, I'm not going on the phone anymore. Or, hey, on Wednesdays, we're going to commit time for pillow talk and intimacy. That's a mental boundary. We also could set ourselves some physical boundaries. Do we really need this phone for an alarm? Most of us don't have an alarm, but how much does an alarm cost? 5, 10, 15 bucks? We could go back to an old school alarm and put a physical boundary away from our phone. Maybe it's downstairs charging. Maybe it's in the garage, or maybe it's downstairs in the living room, and say, hey, I will physically use my phone in the garage, at the couch, and those type of places. But when it comes to the bedroom, my phone doesn't get priority anymore. Maybe that's something to go put in there as a physical boundary to go over and do that. Also, you can go over and set some technological boundaries. You can go put the do not disturb on your phone on that certain time. Maybe each of you go over and say the do not disturb only can be unlocked by the other person putting in a pin. Going over and doing that. Maybe you go over and you say your internet cuts off at a certain time. So you go by a circle, which is through Disney. It's basically a firewall, and you go say you shut off the internet at a certain time. We're doing with that our kids right now. They only can go over and stream during free pockets of time. We give them free pockets of time, but we as adults say, oh, I'm an adult, I'm going to be responsible. Are we? You have to ask yourself that question. If you're averaging as much time on the phone as I'm going over doing, even doing things of social media to feed you guys, I might be doing too much. I know I am. I go over and I binge on a game for a couple weeks. and then I get bored and I go to the next app, maybe I need to go put a block on myself. This is me suggesting something. I go over and say, I can't install games without my wife's permission. Because for me, the games can go fill that quote void of getting less sleep, not pursuing my wife sexually, and also going or not pursuing her in speech and talk and pillow talk. So that's another strategy. What about going over and planning out pillow chats? Woo! I know it sounds so romantic. And it's a little weird at first, isn't it? You know, when we used to go over and date and everything else, we used to be in that bed and going over and trying to talk for hours. And you go over and you're like, it's 2 a.m. We gotta go to bed. And maybe plan out your pillow chats, saying like there's certain days. Just like now, I do my lives Tuesday through Thursday, and I have family time Monday, Friday, and Saturday because most of you guys only watch Tuesday through Thursday. I could do the same thing and say, hey, we're going to have specific pillow chat time on Mondays, Fridays, and Saturdays to engage in that. Now, here's the creepiest one that probably everyone's going to be like, what the boo, is to plan your intimacy. You know, when we are all dating and everything else, we can't keep our hands off each other, right? And when we're early married, we're like, woo, 3 times in a day. Yeah. Slept great. Slept about 12 hours. We try to do these things and we think it's weird, but it's actually fruitful. It's anticipation to go over and do that. Like when you anticipate to go on a vacation, you're like, no, I don't plan vacation. I just randomly just leave my company on like Wednesday and go on until Saturday. It would be cool to go over and do that. But the thing is that we plan our vacations. Why can't we plan our intimacy? One of the most important things in the bedroom outside of sleep is sex, and we should be planning that out. Our bodies tell us to eventually go to sleep. Why are we not going over and when we sleep better and when we have more sex, we do better. And when we connect with our spouse on a regular basis in speech and pillow talk, we do better. It might initially feel weird, but it's fruitful in the long run. Now, here's a crazy one again that we haven't done in a long time, at least not in person, not in public, is get a regular date night. Now, I know COVID is still rampant in some areas. If you're in Florida listening, you're in Texas, you're in California, you're in Maricopa County in Arizona, where we're living, Datebox is a great company to go over and connect with. I think it's for $7.99 a month. You can go over and they plan your dates for you if you want to buy the products of what they give you the plan. If you're going over and you need a little more oomph and you need the products, I think their boxes at the time when we paid for it was like $39.99. It might be $49.99. But you can take that box and break it up and do 2 to 3 different date nights because they give you the curriculum, they give you the products, they give you the food. If it's food, they give you, like, if it's coffee, they give you the grinder and the product. They got some really great deals. Again, don't quote me on price. This has been a long time ago. But go hit Datebox and get a regular date night once a week, once a month. That usually increases your sleep because after a long date night, you're going to want to have sex typically, and then you'll definitely have that time for speech. Here's one I did for a couple years, and if I could go over and go back, I would go over and do this. Get a dumb phone. I mean, literally, I didn't even have a phone for 2 years. I had a Wi-Fi Skype phone for 2 years. I think it was between 2008 to 2010. It's right. Smartphones were sort of coming out. And I got rid of it for like 2 years. Oh, that was great. Connection with people were so much easier and everything else, especially in the bedroom, your most intimate relationship. You should be seeing these people daily. So why not stop looking at your phone and get a dumb phone? When you have a dumb phone, you can still connect with all the social media. You can get yourself an iPad, get yourself an iPod, look at that stuff at a set time, and you don't have to have the dumb phone with you. And plus, it usually saves lots of money. So it's a suggestion that I will consider once on our next move is to go get a dumb phone. Because once I'm done with the military, I don't need to have access to it anymore. I can just get myself a dumb phone and go from there. This one's a great one to remember. This is a great reminder to me, is woo each other throughout the day, especially if the other spouse is words of affirmation. We used to go over and send lovey-dovey texts all the time when we were dating and when we first got married. And then we kind of wean off and we're like, got to go focus on the boardroom. I got to go focus on the living room and everything else. Well, intimacy is built throughout the day. And one spouse might be a microwave, but the other spouse is typically a crock pot. And if you ain't going over and keeping regular heat on that crock pot meal for the day, it's gone. So definitely recommend to go over and do that. Here's another one that we probably think is taboo. We tell our kids, no, don't go over and do that. But guess what? Sexting with your spouse is okay. Why isn't it? You know, the people that are going over and doing adultery and going over and doing cheating and everybody else is going over and doing it, and we believe that's wrong. But when you're with your spouse and you're in marriage, you can sext. You can do sexting throughout the day, or do it a certain time. It kind of brings that intimacy libido back up, doing something a little different. Hey honey, you're looking pretty hot today, or whatever. Just it doesn't have to be like engrossed in there, but visit it, because guess what? In the bedroom, it needs to happen, and that's how you get the bedroom hopping, is going over and keeping it fresh. And lastly, our last one is use your phone to build these habits to get better sleep, to get better sex, to better speech. And you're like, what do you mean? Well, for example, is to go over and get better sleep, there's apps. There's the Calm app, there's the Abide app, there's several meditation apps, and they have sleep stuff built in there. Calm has done extremely well, and so is Abide. Abide's more of a Christian one, Calm's more of a secular one, but they do both fantastic. They have very great audio people to go over and help you get to sleep. It starts getting your mind up and rolling. Now for the sex, in the sense of the apps, that gets in the more of, if you want to go build that, maybe you go over and get into the realm of buying toys, or going over and connecting in the love languages. So you're building that rapport throughout the day. So you're building that sexual anticipation. And when it comes to speech, the 5 love languages and learning personality stuff is key too, because if you know how to go over and communicate with your spouse, great communication goes over and anticipates for great sex. And usually after great sex, it's great sleep right behind it. So that is it. We didn't put our superhero challenge in here for today, so you guys are going to have to write this down. So break out your handy dandy pen and paper. I had it in my head and I didn't put it in the banner, but it's okay, because everything else is there, right? So your superhero challenge for today is increase your sleep, your sex, or your speech 10%. I'd like you to go over and try to do that in the next 30 days. So if you're listening to this on the live or listening to this on the replay, I'd love to go over and challenge you to increase that. So if you're sleeping only 6 hours a day, try to go to bed 30 minutes earlier. Or maybe you can find a strategy to go over and sleep 30 minutes later. Maybe there's a routine that you can go over and do before going to bed. You can sleep in later. On the sense of sexual frequency 10%, go from 1 to 2. If you're on the 2, whoopee, go to 3. There's actually even challenges. You can do a sex challenge for 7 days. I got some people that go over and do that I can't remember the name of the people that I follow, but they go over and do a 7-day sex challenge, like having sex 7 days straight. And in the speech, learning how to go get to know your spouse so you can visit those things. Maybe you go over and you start sharing each other's hobbies. You'll talk more. Look face to face. If you're the typical guy that does shoulder to shoulder, or if you're a girl that does shoulder to shoulder, start sharing those shoulder to shoulder activities so you can increase your talking time. We're talking 3 to 21 minutes per hour with somebody. So that's your superhero challenge for today. We want to thank you for going over and joining. Again, this is always a dialogue, never a monologue. So if you're on Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest, or you listen to this on the new Podopolo app, which gamifies your podcast, leave comments in there. We love to go over and to engage and to go over and bring this context to text. So go over and join it. So anytime there's a comment in there and it's a worthwhile question, we want to go over and connect. And if you're struggling within the bedroom, freedom in the bedroom, we love to go and connect with you. 20 minutes free for every military veteran first responder that goes over and connects with us. So that's pretty much it. We hope you're having a great Tuesday. And as we get to the 4th of July and you're celebrating freedom, we'll hit tomorrow, freedom in the bedroom, another topic for you to go over and to thrive and not just survive. All right. Thanks, guys. You guys have a great day, and we will see you on the flip tomorrow. All right.